Greetings, citizens of the green world. Tonight I'm joined by three of the most respected analysts on the planet to review the annual report by the World Sustainable Trade Organization. Tonight we are honored with the presence of Ricardo Marcos. From 2025 to 2032, Ricardo was the Undersecretary in charge of the resources management in the World Sustainable Trade Organization. Welcome to Greenwatch, Ricardo. Next, Sophie Brown. Not only is she the managing partner of the consulting firm Cleantech & Company, but she's also a well-known participant at Davos, whose keynote presentations are always a must-see. Welcome to Greenwatch, Sophie. And last but certainly not least, we have with us Dr. Laurel Gordon, whose world-famous work on sustainable trade regulatory affairs has been praised by both government officials and CEOs. Welcome to Greenwatch, Laurel. Since its historic inception in 2022, the World Sustainable Trade Organization Annual Report is the most awaited document of the year. It signals the resource quotas that will shape the state of the global economy. While countries and businesses struggled at first to adjust to the strongly enforced regulations, no one questioned the role that the organization played in preventing another crisis like the one we experienced in 2021, the crisis that almost led us to global war. So let's go over the new report and talk about it. This year marks an historic milestone for the organization. Despite China and India's early struggles, most countries have already met their CO2 and recycling targets. We all remember the astronomical non-compliance fines that countries and large corporations have paid in the past. Surprisingly, world GDP and global trade are still on the rise. The report concludes that now more than ever, we live in a global economy. So, dear guests, what can you say about this?
No surprises here as far as I'm concerned. Constraints arose and markets adapted. CO2 and other resource quotas have forced corporations to think longer term. This might have caused goods to move at a slower rate, but regulations have not stopped globalization. Businesses have become more efficient in terms of...
Oh, well, I would paint a much less optimistic picture than what Sophie and companies in general are trying to force upon us. The water consumption index is still far ahead of where it should be. The consumption of water that we have right now is not sustainable. The situation that we are in, we have to be monitoring it much more closely, especially in the megacities. The companies have to pull their weight. They have to limit the proliferation of water-intensive resources, such as the ones that are mentioned in Appendix 13Q of the report.
Well, at the end of the day, it is all about regulating businesses and educating customers. The World Sustainable Trade Organization should follow my recommendations and mimic the success we have had in the US. The American dream has evolved. Access to services is more important than ownership of personal goods. We've managed to turn the society around. We've shifted from short-sighted consumerism to a sustained quality of life. It is all about finding the right sets of policies.
As always, the new World Sustainable Trade Organization's annual report has generated a heated debate. We will return to this discussion after a message from our sponsors.
Are you compliant with the latest recycling regulations? Check now on the World Sustainable Trade Organization portal.
Mankind has awakened to the reality of limited resources. Oil production has peaked. Water and energy are scarce. Tensions between nations escalate and bring the world to the brink of war. A centralized global power emerges to ensure an orderly regulation and the sustainable use of the world's limited resources. As nations work towards compliance, global trade continues to thrive, becoming more stable and predictable. Regulation redefines the free market. Manufacturers come together to create large-scale production clusters and ultra-efficient supply chains. Cities learn how to reduce environmental impact, engaging citizens in sustainable practices. This is One World Order on November 2nd, 2037, where we all work together today to ensure a better tomorrow.